Me and my significant other are business partners, and it can be challenging. Second, how do you handle disagreements you may have with owning and running businesses together?
I'll take this for a second. Sax and I sat down yesterday and had a conversation about the need that we have to have a further conversation around our business relationship. Because I'll just give you a perfect example. When, 6 months ago, I basically hired you to run the den. Mm-hmm. You became an admin and had a job description and roles and things that you were doing. And since that has happened, and since that started, we've radically changed the direction of the den. Mm-hmm. Hired a team and have the app, and so I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, well, what are we doing with this deal, this job, literal job? And you and I've talked about it. Like, business is business, relationship is relationship. Like, this will be clear cut, done and done. And so I think that the most powerful thing that you can do is communicate. I mean, it solves all the problems anyways. Mm-hmm. But it's not a personal thing, right? Like, you're smart enough to know what a job is and what a boss does because you've had employees and you've had people and the whole thing. And so when you operate from a place of this is the business and here's what we're doing, and you take the emotions out of it, I think that very smart, practical people get that. We both get that. We mm-hmm. both know that there's been a change here. So the dynamic is going to change. This is going to change. But that only comes with really, really, really good egolessness communication. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So the first part of that question is, can you do it? Yeah, I love doing it. I've always wanted to have my wife be part of my business and part of Lions Not Sheep, and now I have that, and it's fucking rad. The flip side is you have...
What about paying you for?
You have to manage the two, right? And I think it's very easy to do if you communicate well. Yeah. This. I'm going to take a sidetrack on this as well. This also goes for your employees. So take your significant other out of the question. Ladies and gents, like, if you own a business, the best thing that you can do is to have clearly defined job descriptions and job roles for your employees. Mm-hmm. Where most people go wrong is they huddle everybody around and say, here's the big vision. If you're a CEO like me, if you're a visionary, you share the big vision and you pay the least amount of attention to the little details, right? The execution of it. Because I'm not an execution guy, I'm a vision guy. And what I have found is time after time after time, if I don't have a very, very, very clear job description and map for these people, it causes a lot of fucking contention. Because I have expectations, but they don't have
meet them.
Exactly. They can't meet them because they don't know. Now, enter the relationship. If you and I don't have crystal fucking clear job descriptions and roles for what we do within the business, if you're going to be working part of the business or running the business or an employee of the business, you're no different than anybody else there. You should have, and I should have, very clearly defined job descriptions, not only with our relationship, but when we're doing business together.
Yeah. I have a lot of experience with this too, because I've coached women that work, they work for their husbands.
They're partners. I mean, yeah.
But it's really a lot too in how you guys are respecting each other. Because if it's like you're working for my business, then that's kind of tearing down your partner. If you look at it like it's our business and you're energetically contributing to the building of an empire, and the other person honors that as well, even if it is his company, it's how that's spoken to the partner just out of respect and love and unity that is very powerful in how you use your words. I went to a Women in Business event with Emily Frisilla. It was her event. And most of the women I met there, they work with their husbands, and almost all of them had great, amazing, positive things to say. I will give some empathy to a lot of the women that I met there and I've coached. They've stepped out of their own careers and stepped into helping build their husband's empire and make it theirs. That is a really, really delicate thing for most high-performing women, because we know how to do us. And so when we step into that, it's like, so you also have to know it's okay to not drive. Like, if you're going to do that, you have to
explain that.
Yeah. So
this is something that you've talked about a lot that women and men need to hear.
Yeah. I'm just referring to women doing this because most of those women at the event, they stepped into they retired their successful careers, which is, I just did this. I basically retired. I was doing very successfully for year and year and year because energetically, you and I we would be moving in opposite directions most of the time. And we didn't want that as for our life, like for our empire. Right. So part of the driving is trusting that you have a skill set and you get to communicate that very clearly. Like I would tell Sean, don't put me in with technology. You'll be wasting your money because it'll take me forever to do it. So don't give me that. You know my skill set. So I tell you, I'm like, I'm good at this. I'm good at this. I love doing this. So then odds are the results are going to be greater anyways. And part of doing that is then you get to say, okay, I want you to do these things. And I feel like I'm really going to be successful in that. And you know that I'm good at that, right? But part of the not driving is saying at the end of the day, like it's your company. And as much as I want to build and support, like I take direction from you at that. And I don't take it personally because it isn't mine. Like I'm grateful to be building something together. But that is really, really difficult to do at first when you're used to being in charge. Same thing with, when go from being a single mom and to be married. Like I had the same thing. It's really difficult to go from being in charge and not in charge. But it's not, there's a lot of gratitude you can find in that. Because now you can look at it like, I have a partner. I don't actually have to do it on my own. There's a positive. There's all these ways of looking at it, but you have to be able to surrender your ego and really show up with a lot of respect.
Yeah.
Both parties.
I think that, I know if you're failing in the communication space, and this is actually an amplifier of your relationship, we both know people and have coached people that their relationship wasn't where it needed to be, and then they're trying to work together, and it causes a massive rift. I've got a client that was one of the big things he came to me for, is trying to figure out his own personal life, and his wife worked with him the whole thing. And while he's in chaos, everything is in chaos, right? But one of the things that I clearly identified with him is like that she was in a role in the company because they both thought it was the best place for her. Well, she fucking sucked at the role. It's not what she wanted to do, but it was a need that they had in the company, and she just wanted to support him and said, I'm in, kind of a deal. And it was a lot more chaos and a lot more contention than had they just said, look, this isn't my cup of tea. This isn't my rodeo. Here's what I'm really good at. Yeah. And fellas, listen to this. Like, you will also be significantly more profitable if you do it this way. If you put your wife into a place where she says, I want to be in this place, and it's not her rodeo, it's not her skill set, you don't need to be paying her a paycheck just to appease her to make her part of the deal. But if you utilize her skill set and you get clear, like, I know what your skill set is, and it ain't technology and it's not this other shit, you could learn it just like I could learn it, but that's not your game. Like, that's not just how it works. So putting you into that space, it's like, okay, that's not going to work. But here's what you're good at, and this is where you could actually help the company make a lot of fucking money. So fellas, you got to get that ego aside and realize that, your woman has a skill set or many skill sets that you don't have, and there's no place for ego with me and you. Like, this is, number one, a job, but this is what you're really good at. Like, the more you thrive in this position, the more you thrive in this aspect of the business, the better the business does, the bigger it grows. You know what I mean? So fellas, get super, super, super clear on that. Or ladies, whoever owns the business, whatever it is, in that it's really fun. I will say that it is really fun working with your wife or your significant other. I enjoy it. I think it's rad because the commonalities and the vision and you seeing everything, and you have a better understanding of what it is that I'm dealing with and what it is that I'm going through as a CEO, as an owner of multiple different companies. And I think there's a really strong advantage to that too, is as you show compassion to that, I think, and maybe touching this, I think it unifies us. I think it helps us connect even more. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people, ladies, if you're not connected to your man's business, I did this for years with my first marriage. I disconnected the two. I never told my wife about any of it, really. She was never involved in the business. It was like the business life and the home life. So she never really understood the pressures or the stresses or the deals that I was doing and the gravity of these things. And so there's a lot of impasse there.
Yeah.
And so I truly believe getting your significant other involved in your business in any way is actually a really, really, really good thing.